before we start this video, guys, I want you to know right now that this week we're probably only going to be doing 2 videos a day. The video that I had prepared that was supposed to be the third video, which was about Dylan Mulvaney and who the hell he really and truly is, that video is being moved. Let's just go ahead and say that we're moving that video to Tuesday afternoon. Unless something is breaking, there more than likely will not be a third video on any day this week. If there is, it's because something just came up on Wednesday. There will be 2 videos that will be involving something that is a little bit in a bit of a different direction, but I feel like we need to discuss it anyways because it is an important topic. Either way, though, we're going to be discussing a little bit about this Kentucky shooting, but we're going to be discussing why it is that certain athletes, especially the one that we're talking about here, is really just a good old-fashioned paid shield to preach the message. You know, there is this growing disconnect right now between critics and viewers. We'll be covering that on Wednesday. This video right here is about a certain coach who, for whatever reason, has to stick his nose into just about everything. But I want to go ahead and say this really quick. The real reason why it is that people have kind of turned on celebrities, coaches, athletes is because for whatever reason, they figured that social media was like a great big giant credit card to basically say whatever the hell they wanted whenever. Now, we do live in America where you do have freedom of speech, and I support your right to freedom of speech. However, I don't support cancel culture. I want to go ahead and get that out of the way now. I do believe in accountability. Those two things are two completely different things. When you cancel somebody, you essentially basically end their livelihood, at least for the time being. Bare minimum. Some people obviously do recover. Holding someone accountable is calling them out on their BS or calling them out on their hypocrisy. That is what that is. But the thing is this right here. Some people, they obviously expose themselves to being really just nothing more than a good old-fashioned spokesman. And, of course, we're talking about Gregg Popovich, the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. Now, guys, I'm not going to be going after him as a head coach. He's obviously had a very storied career. But for a long time now, he's been having let's just say anytime the gun topic comes up, he's got to respond with some bullcrap like this here.
Or, Lindsey Graham or Jim Jordan, whoever of them have kids or nieces or nephews or grandkids, can they imagine that happening to theirs? Are they incapable of...
Now, gang, that was only a very, very small bit of what was said. I'll be playing the full little spiel here shortly. But when you say things like, well, it's a myth that you'd be hurting the Second Amendment by implementing gun control, stuff like that there, especially when you are a head coach in a state like, say, Texas, yeah, you're probably going to come off sounding like a bit of a DA, and I don't mean district attorney. I'll let you guys kind of interpret it for yourselves. Now, the topic you guys would think about is obviously the shooting that occurred in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, I am not going to get that far into that topic, into that entire ordeal just yet. And here's the reason why. You see, I learned a lesson from Uvalde. I learned a very, very big lesson. Anytime that a shooting occurs, you need to wait at least a day or two unless the details are already out in force or already out there. Unlike in the case of Nashville, where the New York Post already had the details out about the shooter, this one here is a little bit different. I'm showing you guys some headlines here to just kind of give you guys an idea of exactly how crazy the story was, because we still don't have all the details, and we still don't have all the facts. I may come back to this on Wednesday unless something is breaking tomorrow. I probably won't touch it. It's one of the reasons why I'm probably going to have 2 videos and 2 videos alone released for the day of Tuesday. Now, the thing you have to understand is that you see stuff like 4 dead, 5 dead, 6 dead was actually the original reporting from what I understand. We heard that a cop was killed. We also heard that another cop was wounded. We heard that it was a good guy with a gun that put the shooter down. But obviously, facts like this right here oftentimes get thrown under the rug when something like this occurs, and somebody, some celebrity or some head coach has got to come out and run his freaking mouth. Now, Steve Kerr, he has also ran his mouth with the topic of guns. However, in the case of Steve Kerr, I will not be giving him too much hell because Steve Kerr obviously has a connection to something. I'm pretty sure if you guys know his past, then you guys are kind of knowing exactly where I'm going with this. Apparently, his father was killed. His father was killed by a person, not a gun. It just so happened to be that a gun was used. I'm just curious. If somebody is stabbed or hacked to death with an axe, do you blame the knife or do you blame the person who's doing it? Because last I checked, in order for a gun to work, you have to actually hold said weapon. You have to pull the trigger. The exact same way when you have a knife, you have to hold it in your hand and you have to stab like this right here, or you have to come up like this right here, or that there. Obviously, it's the person that is wielding it that is the problem. I don't see the point in making 99.9% of the American people suffer because of one complete total. I got to watch my language here if you guys know what I'm saying. But you guys, if you've watched my previous content, you already know where I'm going. Fact of the matter is that people like Gregg Popovich, they are not exactly as smart as they claim they are. Now, guys, I'm going to roll this little spiel for you guys, and we're going to come back on the other side, and we're going to have a nice little discussion about it.
Lindsey Graham or Jim Jordan, whoever of them have kids or nieces or nephews or grandkids, can they imagine that happening to theirs? Are they incapable of knowing what that's like? I mean, I couldn't believe it, so I wrote this thing down. This Senator Marsha Blackburn, her comment after the massacre, my office is in contact with federal, state, and local officials, and we stand ready to assist. In what? They're dead. What are you going to assist with? Cleaning up their brains off the wall? Wiping the blood off the schoolroom floor? What are you going to assist with? And then there's Governor Lee. I'm sorry to go on, but Bill Lee. I'm closely monitoring the tragic situation. Please join us in prayer. What are you monitoring? They're dead. Children. They're dead. When I pick up my 6 and 11-year-old grandkids at school, when I'm here at home, on the way, it goes through my mind that I hope they're going to be okay. And most of you in this room, when we were in school, we worried if Nancy would dance with us on Friday after the football game or something. That was our anxiety.
Now, really quick, before we go any further, he was referring to the Nashville tragedy. However, don't you just find it kind of weird that he did this right around the same time that the whole Louisville tragedy occurred? I mean, don't you guys kind of find it funny? Also, something else too. And you're going to hear me say this in this video, but I do agree with him, though, that kids should be able to obviously play and not have any anxiety. But at the same time, though, you're bringing up politicians and lawmakers that really and truly can't really do anything about it unless they have help from the other side, which I don't think is going to occur because the other side always demands that you just turn everything. I'm actually surprised that Democrat Senator Chris Murphy did not show up and start running his suck like always. Fact of the matter is that when somebody says we're monitoring the situation, that typically tends to mean that we're trying to see the developments. I mean, the Nashville shooter, from what we understand, actually had more targets in mind other than just at school where kids got killed. And like I said, as somebody who feels for the parents in this situation, I've been saying for a long time that the best thing you can do is just harden the schools. I mean, I'm surprised Tennessee did not do this earlier. But still, at the same exact time, though, your rhetoric right now is not really helping at this moment in time. I mean, it's just another attempt for a guy who's a head coach of a basketball team that's in a red state to go after other people who live in red states. As I'll explain a little bit further in this video, Gregg Popovich, as Jason Whitlock kind of put up in his little column op-ed for the Blaze, he's really quite the coward on this issue. However, I disagree with this right here. You see, Popovich, as I'm about to explain to you guys, is basically being paid to be a coward. He, for the most part, is a paid shill. I mean, dude, he didn't come around until Donald Trump actually won the presidency. It just seems to me like there are so many people out there who are not exactly genuine. Like I said before, and I'm not a fan of Steve Kerr, but at least Steve Kerr has got at least a right to say something, even though his opinions on the Second Amendment are complete total nonsense. As I've said before, it takes somebody to actually pull the trigger. Guns don't just shoot themselves. You have to explain this to people all the time. What it is that people have this tendency to, maybe like try to exert their power over others. As I have said before on multiple occasions, the Second Amendment of the Constitution is designed to be a check on the federal government, but we're now finding out further and further and further, and maybe the Founding Fathers knew this, that the Second Amendment is now becoming more of a check against what we call DAs, as I mentioned earlier. You guys can fill in what they are. But basically, good old-fashioned stupid people that get incited by paid shills and grifters like Popovich. One more point that needs to be made. Why in the hell is the sports media pushing this? Shouldn't you guys be sticking mostly to sports, asking the coach, hey, look, how was practice today? Stuff like that there. I mean, like I said before, sports is obviously in on the agenda as well. I kind of figured it out back when I was going to school for sports studies, and maybe it was a good thing that I never got to work for a company like ESPN, because I might have actually become one of these people if that was the case. I just figure I would throw that out there. Once again, pro wrestling playbook, designed to whip up emotions, designed to get this person against that person over there. We use somebody of high profile. We pay them money. They go out there, they basically shield for us and shield for the agenda. Just figure I'd throw that out there. Now to Mr. Popovich, who, by the way, also served in the Army. And by the way, he should at least have an idea that guns don't operate on their own. You know, it's really funny, dude. You know, I can't remember who it was that said this a long time ago. It was a meme with Ozzy Osbourne, but I'm not entirely sure that Ozzy said this. But then again, though, it actually wouldn't surprise me, because even in that doped out mind of his, some genius comes out. He asked, I think the question was, why is it that when we go to war, why don't we just send the guns there? Why do we send troops there? Pretty obvious answer. It's obviously the people, the person who's actually operating the weapon. I don't think I have to give you guys my stances on the Second Amendment. I'm anti-red flag law. I'm very, very pro-gun. I think more people should be carrying them. But I also think more people should get some safety courses done, learn how to actually operate them. I also understand that you just can't walk inside a store and buy a gun. You do got to go through a background check. It's called an FFL form. You got to fill that out. That right there gets approved by NICS, the ATF. And if they say that you're good to go, then you're good to go. Normally, you can purchase that weapon. Also, something else, too, with online gun sales. Let me go ahead and throw this out here as well. When it comes to online gun sales, what you have to do is that you have to order the firearm, but you have to also, at the same time, have to get it sent to an FFL dealer, meaning a federal firearms licensee, somebody who has a license. And before they hand you that firearm, you have to go through the exact same background check. You can't just walk out of there with it. You guys kind of see what I'm saying. Or how it is that when people talk about gun deaths, they don't seem to realize that a large chunk of those are done with handguns, and a large chunk of those are also suicides. Makes you kind of wonder if it isn't the culture. Makes you kind of wonder if it isn't, I don't know, maybe mental illness, something that we've been talking about. But still, though, at the same time, I'm not okay with red flag laws. Once you red flag somebody, next thing you know, it's just going to continue to trickle down, 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 all the way down to the lowest person. Next thing you know, everybody in the country has got a red flag on them. I don't think I have to discuss this. People like Popovich, in my opinion, are just good old-fashioned paid shills, paid spokesmen. Let me go ahead and explain why. Popovich didn't start this whole high horse morality, high horse crap until right around the time that the whole entire ordeal with Kawhi Leonard was going on. I'm not going to rehash that in this video. There are other channels that talk about this. One of them, of course, is Secret Base, who, by the way, I don't really care for because I think their journalists love to leave a lot of things out. I'll give you a great example. They brought up Bobby Knight's rape comment from back in the, I think it was the early 90s, in an interview that he did with Connie Chung, where they said that if you're about to be raped, just go ahead and just go ahead and get ready to take it. No, that's not what Bobby Knight actually said. Go back and watch the interview. What Bobby Knight really and truly said was that if you're not willing to defend yourself and fight, then guess what? You might as well just go ahead and get ready to go ahead and take it. That's basically what he was trying to say. I didn't say exactly like that right there. It's not exact words, but that's what Bobby Knight was trying to say. Once again, misdirection, took him out of context. Once again, though, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, man, maybe you're taking Popovich out of context. Maybe you're taking this person. No. Every time a shooting happens, every time Donald Trump's name would come up or any Republican politician would come up, Gregg Popovich would come out of the middle of nowhere and just start screaming and hollering, Republican bad! Republican politician bad! After a while, man, it looks like you're basically getting paid to say that, man. I wonder if the San Antonio Spurs put it in your contract. Oh, yeah. At least once or twice a week, dude, you got to come out here and you got to attack Donald Trump. Oh, yeah, you got to attack Trump supporters. You got to attack anybody who's a conservative. You got to attack anybody with a freaking brain. It's pretty damn obvious at this point in time that Gregg Popovich is nothing more than a good old-fashioned paid shill. I would also argue that over 90% of athletes themselves aren't paid shills. Just the very, very top 10%, like LeBron. And, you know, anytime you browbeat a certain performer over something they said, like say in the case of Kyrie Irving, and the next thing you know, they got to come out and they got to say something that is how do I say, something that fits the message, something that fits the agenda. It's pretty obvious that these people are bought and paid off. That's basically the point that I'm trying to make. Our media loves to do this crap where they misinform. I mean, the reason why I brought up the whole Bobby Knight thing is because, as I showed you earlier with the headlines were saying something completely different earlier this morning. 4 dead, 5 dead. There was even one that had 8 dead. Nobody freaking knew. You see, in the times of shootings, what needs to happen is that people need to keep their mouths shut. Okay, I had to learn this the hard way. You need to kind of sit back and wait and see what the hell is going on here. I mean, that's what you need to do. The only details I have about this particular shooter is that he's being said that he's white. Which, by the way, if he's a white male, it obviously fits the agenda. It obviously fits the planning. It obviously does that. Don't worry, we'll have more details a little bit later on, but people like Gregg Popovich, they have to go out of their way to run their mouth about everything. Probably got briefed the minute he walked in there. Hey, Pop, there was another shooting that happened this time in Kentucky. That's a red state. Oh, my God, man, I get the opportunity to blast rednecks. I get my opportunity to blast white people. Dude, it's pretty obvious you're getting a stipend for doing so, which is really funny, too, because as I said before, if Popovich did this and Popovich was, say, a coach that only had maybe like 1 ring, he probably would have been fired, especially if he's in a state like Texas. Very pro-gun, conservative, pro-Christian. I mean, you got to wonder at some point in time if people in Texas have just kind of gotten to the point where they've just completely tuned Popovich out. I'm just curious. I'm just wondering. Either way, though, by now, I think people should understand. People should know by now that Gregg Popovich is just another one of those voices that's just getting paid to preach the message. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys later.